Welcome back. It is Dr. Leslie hour. I wanted it to be nightcap hour, a recap nightcap, but I found out that was trademarked after I paid $7 to make the signs. The sign will stay, but the name has to change. Anyways, I'm back on October 7th, 2025. And I honestly, today was an absolute shit show in the world, in the American government, with celebrities, with my court cases. I can't even tell you. So, what I think we need to do is start structuring this. What I'm going to do is we're going to go for celebrities. We're going to go for trials, kind of that hard hitting, fun, gossipy stuff. If I've signed an NDA, I'll try not to get myself arrested or sued, but I'll give you as much information as I can. We'll jump into American government stuff because it's just an utter shit show right now. We'll definitely cover some really heavy hitters, social media heavy hitters. I love covering Aaron Parnas and Candace Owens just on a daily. And then we'll continue with just a little bit of world news, but I know very little world news because we're censored from it significantly here. Yeah, free, this is a free America. Anyways, and then we'll finish with like a little teeny meditation so that you can go to sleep and not think about all the crazy shit and chaos I just talked to you about. Okay, so let's talk about celebrity stuff. There are a lot of documents coming out in the Lively Baldoni case. I do believe that Baldoni wants to keep more sealed, and he has until tomorrow to say why they did not offer enough detail. They really don't ever offer enough detail, and I'm guessing it's because Brian Friedman is kind of a shit show right now with this case. People say he's spread too thin. I don't think that's it, guys. If patterns of behavior show us anything, it's that there's other stuff going on, that maybe he's not in it for the right reasons. And, I did feel bad for Steve Surowitz funding all of this because I always worry about people who are hyper religious and being manipulated. So that hyper religiosity paired with billions of dollars, you're going to be a target. And if you're a softie and you think that the religion is good and that people are all good and you want to help people who are within your religion, you are going to be targeted. And that's coming from somebody who personally targeted my university because I knew that they would let me in if I missed the deadline for application, and they did. So I think that very religious people, even if they are really super rich, are definitely more susceptible to manipulation because they have faith and they want to see good in people. And it really sucks. It really sucks when people manipulate that. So, Steve, I hope you're listening to this and I hope you wake up to this because I think you're one of them. So we'll get those documents coming out. We're going to figure out this verbal altercation. Everybody seems to be really getting into what the hell was said, that where Baldoni was basically banned from another movie set. It's a similar situation. Everybody thought that he was like banned by Blake Lively on the set of It Ends With Us, and he had to be in the basement with his family, when really the reality is that the entire cast and crew wanted nothing to do with him, and they asked him to wait down there. He chose to bring his family. They asked him to wait down there because they didn't want to walk the red carpet with him. That's telling. And now we have another movie set where that's telling too. And then, as I talked about on my socials, we have two cancer patients with their dying scripts that Baldoni turned into movies. It's kind of parasitic. It's definitely a pattern that people are choosing to ignore. And then selling himself as a feminist and an apologist. I don't understand how people don't really see through all this. Why exactly would Blake Lively want to turn her world upside down to fight for a sexual harassment claim and a smear campaign that I think extends to the presidency? That will definitely probably come out in this. Why would she want to do all that if she really didn't go through something horrible? I mean, let's return to logic a bit here, people. But anyways, people are just completely obsessed with this case. I don't have enough time to be obsessed with it because I have other celebrities that are like really fucking horrible. I can't watch TV or movies anymore. I literally just need to watch like reality shows, where like sealed SEAL Team 6, that's a good one, where you see these narcissistic, egotistical celebrities and athletes, and they're actually like, they meet their maker with snot running down their nose and they can't even like figure out how to get through the show. And that's an epic one. I think I'll watch that one tonight. So, anyways, I see people all the time on social media, even lawyers, civil litigation lawyers, and they're talking about this case and everybody wants to think good, but really, there's so much fucking lying that goes on in these cases. There's hiding of evidence. There is so much that is just, you wouldn't believe it because you are ethical. You think that they are ethical. What about those stories of Camille Vasquez spraying Johnny Depp's cologne in the bathroom before Amber Heard went in? Now, I don't know if that's true, but where do these stories come from? Do they come from truth? Because I hear these stories repeatedly in these cases. And that's why in these cases, I tend to be deposed or I testify and then I just get the fuck out of there. I don't want to be biased. I don't care how it turns out. I'm just going to tell you who's valid, who's reliable, and who's telling the goddamn truth from a scientific perspective because I'm not a part of the theater, which that would then bring us nicely into politics. So, anyways, I do want to mention, though, that if people think Taylor Swift is Blake's friend, then she's a pretty shitty friend. And the lyrics of Canceled, if they are about Blake, also show that Taylor might be kind of a shitty person. And I think that is kind of the narrative that's going around on social media. And she actually spoke up about that today, just basically saying that she was a shitty person. She basically said, good or bad, at least they're talking. Good or bad, at least I'm selling albums to all of you and I'm making money off of all of you. I guess when you get to the billionaires club, it's hard to stay good. I have some friends that are billionaires and they are actually really good people. And they're not in the media and they don't use it for leverage and they don't want anyone to know that they have billions of dollars. Now, those are the kind of people that I would stick with. So let's jump over to the American government. So, of course, the first thing we see is that the federal government this morning continues to be shut down. We are on day 7. This is leading to air traffic control, people, employees not going to work. So now we are seeing backups at the airports. Yesterday it was Burbank Airport. Now it's Nashville. I would imagine it's going to be Atlanta, probably LAX. I mean, it'll get to a point where it's like so backed up and cumbersome that people don't want to fly, but also safety is in question. So that's what we woke up to. But we also woke up to the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal to the Supreme Court was rejected. So fuck you, Ghislaine. The only way you're getting out now is if Trump pardons you, which sadly I can see happening because he is willing to shut down the entire government to prevent the Epstein files from coming out. And I hate to tell you guys, the Epstein files are likely both Democrats and Republicans. They are probably independent people. What do they have in common? People that want to harm children, people that are outliers financially, people that need that power to feel stimulation. Those are psychopathic people. And those are usually qualities we see in politicians, dictators, authoritarian leaders. No matter what country, no matter what their beliefs, it takes a certain kind of personality to rise to the top and to run a country and try to run the world. So obviously, my social media pages are just flooded with martial law, insurrection. And then we had this moment today. Today was fucking chaos. So we have this moment today where a Trump aide, Stephen Miller, is on camera and he's talking and he says the president has plenary authority. Okay. And then he freezes. Now, do you remember when Kourtney Kardashian said something in an interview once and she kind of froze and they were like, is the camera frozen, Kourtney? But then she kind of looked to the side and it was pretty obvious that somebody had told her, don't answer that question. Like her PR strategist, don't answer that question. And then Kourtney didn't know what to say because most of these people are just vessels for really smart writers. And she froze for a while and it was terribly awkward. But that freezing gives us all the information we need, right? So Stephen Miller says plenary authority and then he freezes. He pretends like the camera's frozen, but he's still breathing and he's still blinking. And he looks utterly stunned. Like he is terrified that he just broke the bros code. He was just, I don't know, the Young President's Organization. He just outed the secrets, the secret fraternity. But he basically confirmed that Trump has plans to to rip apart this country and cause chaos and take absolute unchecked power. And that's a terrifying moment. And then the other point that happened today was that another Trump person did a podcast as though people don't listen to podcasts. And he just confirmed that like Epstein abusers were horrible. He confirmed that he was in Epstein's house and that there was a massage table in the middle. He confirmed that Epstein was very good at blackmail, and he confirmed that Epstein videotaped everyone and used that as blackmail. That's so strange because this is the same day that Pam Bondi was ripped apart by Congress and denied that there was any evidence, denied that there was any video footage. But she didn't just deny it. She refused to answer it. And then she turned every question back on to the senator or whoever was asking it. And she had note cards. Now, when I testify, I'm not allowed to have anything up there with me. And so that pissed me off, Miss Lawyer. She then turned, looked towards whoever's asking her the question, picked up the note card, and seemed so impressed with herself that she wrote down something about them that they did wrong or that was questionable. Who knows if it's true or not? But she wanted to put them back on their heels. Some were a little befuddled by it, continued with their questioning. Some didn't really give a shit because, again, they're politicians and kept forcing her, trying to get her into a corner. These debates, these questioning, it's just completely theater and completely ridiculous, and nothing comes of it. I literally do not understand why we waste time doing this. The federal government is shut down. People are not going to get their health care, but all these people seem to be working just to question Bondi so that she can lie through her teeth. And then she kept saying, just ask Kash Patel, but you're his boss. You're his boss. So it just didn't make sense. If you felt like you were in circles with them, it's because you were. And when you're confused and you're feeling like it's a cyclical conversation or pattern, it's because people are lying and covering up and they don't have a good enough lie to actually break through the cycle. More things in the news. Let's see. The Supreme Court did an amazing job with Maxwell, but now they are actually open to considering allowing conversion therapy. That scares me. I think that is horrifying. The American Psychological Association is very much against conversion therapy. It is not therapy, it is abuse. And it does not work. There is no science behind it. If somebody is homosexual, if somebody is gay, if somebody is a lesbian, if somebody wants to decide however the F they want their sexuality to be, as long as it is legal, that is their right. And there's no therapy in the world that is going to change who you are. That pisses me off. SCOTUS better step up to this president, step up to these asinine things that are coming across their plate. Yes, so Pam Bondi was such a bitch today, but most lawyers are, because they're kind of doing their job. But she really let it show. I think at one point she took gum out of her mouth and put it into paper. At one moment, she drank coffee with like two hands because her hands are kind of shaking. So I thought that was interesting. I do worry, though, if Trump does go away in some way, that JD Vance is going to run the country and he's going to do whatever people tell him to do. We're the same age. I'm 42. This is 42. Never in a million years would I want to run this country. One, because you don't get to choose, right? Everyone just tells you what to do. But two, I would fuck up. I would fuck up so much. And I have the insight to know that I do not understand how to run a country and what should be the most powerful country in the world. Hand it over to Vance. That's terrifying. Oh, good Lord. This is like doomsday. What else happened today? The cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, said that they were going to take out all the Americans in Cabo. But then Mexico said that that wasn't true. That never happened. It was highly suppressed all over the news, but it was on lives on TikTok. I know some Sinaloa cartel, so I just asked them if it was true, and they said no. So we can just squash that one. Aaron Parnas made like 35 breaking news TikToks today, but I think he's okay. Aaron, I hope you're sleeping. Candace Owens continues to talk about Charlie Kirk and how she thinks Israel is behind the murder because he said he didn't want to move in the direction of Israel and supporting Israel like a couple days. And she has like these group texts. She has these sources that she never outs. And that's where I think we move a little into conspiracy. Yeah, maybe he pissed some people off. maybe his death has nothing to do with Israel. And maybe it was what he spoke about that was, taken into some young man's brain who was radicalized through this meme culture, this unserious culture online. And he thought that ending Charlie Kirk's life was what he needed to do. And he did not understand the consequences for his behaviors, or he was just so radicalized by this nihilistic rhetoric online, groups like 764, that he was convinced that's what he needed to do to prove himself. That's where I think Candace drops these seeds, and then you can't go down the path with her because that's where it becomes ungrounded, unfounded conspiracy theory, and also probably distracting from things like that she's being sued by the president of France. So let's just not forget that. Or that she decided to talk about the Baldoni Lively case but refused to give any information within this past year. And that is in particular when a lot of the smearing happened and talking points were handed out to people and they had similar talking points. That is evidence that we will likely see in that trial. Another thing that happened I didn't talk about was 3 days ago, this University of Washington guy came into a class and he was just spewing like hate speech. And the professor who was kind of known to be wacky female professor and the students like chased the guy out, like fully chased him. Dozens and dozens of students chased this guy, cornered him. I think one girl was a little rash and pepper sprayed him in the face, but they all surrounded him and they were just mocking him, telling him he was basically a loser and completely wrong and racist, and it was all bigotry. Good job. Aside from the pepper spray girl, they just kind of surrounded him and they held their phones up to him and asked him for like his game day speech. But there was no violence. So, but I do think Washington is way too woke, I have to say. I mean, the fact that they don't even believe in interviews in a lot of Washington and in Portland and Oregon as well, because they don't want to put people on this hierarchy. I find that very, very fascinating. And I think that's too much. When I did doctoral internship interviews and went out there, they didn't believe in actual interviews. They just wanted to have kind of like cocktail parties to assess people. No, I want to tell you my knowledge. I want to tell you how I have worked so hard to get to where I am. I want face-to-face conversation with the person I have prepared to impress with my curriculum vitae and all of my experience. And I think we need to size each other up properly and put competent people into roles based on the knowledge that they present. Now, I know there's so much controversy around DEI, but I think you have to think about it in context of the actual job. Do you want to promote a pilot above people who have higher skills as pilots just because they meet criteria because of their sexuality or their race? Now, when it comes to a safety job, I don't agree with it. When it comes to a job where safety isn't a component, then we change our tune. But again, guys, we have to be flexible. We have to find the gray area. We can't just say it's all or nothing, because nothing is all or nothing ever, except that statement I just made. So yeah, that was basically today. And it's the 2-year anniversary of the Hamas attacks. And what we learned was that it was just basically turned into political theater, and there was no honoring other than people posting on socials. There was no honoring for the lives lost 2 years ago on this day, and nothing's changed. Absolutely horrifying to me. Maybe I should just be the fucking president, but you know what? I was born in Canada. I'm American and Canadian, but I guess if Trump can just make up his own rules, put me in, I'll do it. Yeah, we got it. Okay. I want you to take a step back and I just want you to think about 4 things. Keep them in your mind. Know that they are tools that are being weaponized against you right now, and you may not see them coming. You may not fully understand it. I want you to think about conspiracy theories, how people are displaying their power and authority, the use of artificial intelligence in our everyday lives. Start learning about it if you haven't, and the people talking about the deep state. We didn't care that much. It was pretty clear that none of this really mattered, but it's being weaponized as propaganda to distract you and change your views. And they are officially becoming tools every day in the news and in the media. Now, on a lighter note, We'll do our nightly meditation, and this will be in honor of Taylor Swift. In honor of Taylor Swift's latest contribution to literature, tonight's grounding meditation reminds us sometimes the wood is metaphorical, sometimes it's not, but it's always over analyzed. I will see you tomorrow with another update, and God, I hope it's shorter. Peace, y'all.